Hi, what's up? As per usual, I'm not really gonna show off my face, or I'm not gonna like, you know, talk for 20 hours, because it's Doodlefort. Doodlefort is only for very serious teaching classroom things. That's all it's for. Ever. You know, the very serious things we do here. Real quick though, I just want to bring up that we do have, as seen, quite a few new emotes, but the thing I wanted to bring up is the, one second, loyalty badges. We have many new loyalty badges, and I thought I just wanted to share these with everybody that may not have seen them the other day, or on Twitter, and so on and so forth. I'm like here, so no one's gonna have anything above me. Yeah, I made everything up to 8 years, so I based them on the elements too. I was like, okay, they're magical, and then you go to hell, and then you go to space, and then you go underwater, then you go into the clouds, and then the plants, and then snow, and then rainbow. You know, like you do. Okay, I closed my music. Smart job, me. Good job, me. Good job, me. Hell yeah, you do. All right, we'll just have this up. Hi. Okay, so we had a prompt. We had a prompt. Does anyone know what the prompt was specifically? Yeah, it's a lovely progression. Also, if I get up randomly, it's because I have to wee. Hi, Evie. How are you? Yeah, after 8 years, you have to prestige, but you have to level up and prestige. But yeah, the stream does say armor, so that's fair. Yeah. So there were two parts to the prompt. Either A, you designed armor for something, and you told me what you were designing it for, so I could basically understand what you were trying to go for. Or B, you were told to take 1 or 2 pieces of knight armor, and just stick it in a light environment and practice your lighting, reflectivity, and your ability to render. So, how'd that go for you guys? Anyone have trouble? Because I'm assuming that some people had some trouble. That's fair. That's extremely fair. I have no clue how reflection works. Good. That's also fair. Huh. What do you know? Alright, well, I gotta pet the cat because she's here and she wants my attention so much. So much attention. And there she goes. Okay. So let's go ahead and start. The main things that I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into 2 parts. We're going to first look at design, and then we'll look at rendering, because rendering's a little bit harder to judge. So, ignore the fact that there's a million Pokemon on my desktop. These are our submissions. Who wants to go first? Oh man, our cats are getting better about their yearly baths. I really wish that there was a way to make it easier on them. Yeah, we can do you first, Mimic, since you're rendering as well. Okay. So, one second. Let me pull up some references first. Do you have a reference for this at all that I could grab? And if not, that's fine. I will find my own. Yeah, it's a Doodlefort. Light armor, middle age armor. Okay. Seems about right. Okay. So, a couple things, real quick. First thing to think about is how reflective is armor, like actually. And the reality is that there's usually like 2 to 3 different kinds of armor. We just started, don't worry. 2 to 3 different kinds of armor. There's show armor, and there's actual, like, we use this armor. Show armor tends to be extremely reflective to a point of being like a mirror finish and very detailed and stuff, whereas like just kind of basic armor, not so much. It can have all the details you want, but it didn't tend to have the mirror finish that you mostly get from like modern day machinery. So in that case, you have to consider the shape of the armor that you have on to understand the light source that you have, right? So we can easily tell that there's a light source coming in from this way, and there's one from this way, right? Because you have, actually there might even be 3, hold on. Yeah, there's 3, okay. There's also one coming in this way because fuck it. So a lot of these shadows are ridiculous, but you can kind of tell that there's not so much like we're gonna shade every single little piece, and you can kind of get away with just doing this, and that's shading armor, right? Like that's literally all you kind of need to do, and you get the gist of like how to shade armor. Okay, you don't need to sit in and go, okay, well, every single piece needs to be shaded differently, because that's not how that works, right? If you have a light source here, no matter what, it's going to show up, like if we had like a bar light, right? Like, so if we have a bar light, okay, it's going to show up as a bar in your reflection in general. That's why if you notice down here, there's a tiny, itty bitty little actual circle. Because not only is this a raised area, but because the light is a circle. So, just keep in mind that you need to be more aware of your shapes than anything when working with armor. So, a good tip to making sure that you have your shapes down, right, is to just block everything out, right? We have this, and then we have like this here. So very obviously, you can kind of see that like there's a light source coming in from here and maybe in from here, because this color is way lighter than this color overall. You can get the general gist that there's a light source coming in from here and from here. And your best bet is honestly to work in grayscale when starting out, because that will literally teach you shapes. Because when I sit there and I say render, I mean like not cell shading. I'm talking about actually sitting down and rendering something so that it fits in your light environment, sort of thing. So even though I'm sitting here and adding like just blotches of color, right, you're still getting the general gist of this being reflective, even if I'm just literally working on top of a photo. Because the light sources are there, you get the general gist of how things are being reflective, and if your light source is catching the area you want it to, instead of like being over here, because there is a light source over here. There's a small one, but it's not nearly as bright as this one, for example. So working in grayscale will help you try to figure out your shapes and make sure that your light source is correct. That makes sense? You're fine, Calby. Okay, enough about that. So, first and foremost, I think you had the general idea of what you wanted to do, but the problem is I think that you started with purple for one mimic, and you kind of treated it more like, how do I put this? Like a fabric than metal. So if I were to say this was metal, let's just hold on one sec. Let me also thank you a whole lot for using gray as your background. That helps a lot. So you can now see how dark all of your metal is comparatively, right? So it probably confused you when you were trying to go in with your light tones to actually make it seem more reflective when your metal was already this dark. So if we were to go ahead and say that it's that dark, right? Metal has to be shaped to something, right? So let's go ahead and just add like a little bit of that there, because you do have to bend it to shape. Okay. Now we have a more sort of basic shape to what we were going with. Let's go like here and just very broad strokes of what we're working with. You're just kind of getting smaller, figuring out what your light source is. And then you can like literally have like a point light, like if you wanted, comparatively. And then I tend to want to thin down the shiniest part just because that's how I do. But there's a large difference between this and what we had, right? Let's see if I can't back up far enough. The answer is no, I can't. It's okay. Okay, well, one sec. There you go. So the back and forth gives it a lot of feel like it's being pulled that direction, right? Because generally when you're working with like vinyl and things like that, when the light source is going back and forth like that, it's because it's being pulled this way, and this is a higher point than this right here. When, if it's metal, this would be completely like flat, right? It wouldn't have that sort of pull to it. There are situations I found where that works, but you need to know about how it is this in the first place than anything else. All right, so I also like to, just for metal, give it just a little bit of like reflective light, just to snazz it up a little bit, just to make it really feel like metal. See? Okay, so now we have more of that sort of polished idea, right? You can even like bring it a little bit further and say that there's even more of a light source if you wanted, because all of your light source in this shape, right? This is the shape, right? From here to here, it literally is just this. So wouldn't the light source specifically be targeting here, which I'm trying to replicate? Instead of it being entirely down the whole way, it's pretty much just like right in here. And then the same goes for everything else, right? So what if this is completely facing our light source at this point. So I would not even worry about having it be as dark as it is. Because if we remember with the armor that I drew over, so long as the light source is correct, everything else will fall into place. So this is directly under our light source, right? And this is more so having to think about, like, what shape is your light source? Is it the actual freaking sun? Because if it is, then that's another point light. And if it's not, then you need to figure out what kind of shape you're actually working with. Again, reflective. I'm only bringing in the shadows once I know where the light is, basically. At the point that I know where the light source is, I can bring in more shadows because the light source dictates where shadows are. So because this is on the same line, basically, as this. Okay, so it has holes in it. That's what those are. So you can go ahead and just make these black. It's fine. Let's go ahead and just act still within that light environment. Armor is one of those things that can be kind of hard to learn. I am going to be completely honest. Learning to draw metal in a way that actually works in a reflective sense can be really difficult because it literally tests everything you know about bounce light and otherwise. Right? Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, lighting absolutely changes everything. So this has an obvious sort of corner to it, right? And if our light source is already coming down, then this would be a lot lighter than this, but these seem to be about the same light amount. Hi, Jordy. So, then in that sense, I need to add something for security in a minute. Let's go ahead and just make sure that this plane is getting the same amount of light, because it is, first and foremost. Because again, figure out our light source, we can figure out our shadows. Okay, so you can see how that's already, like, catching the light, makes it look like it's supposed to be that color, sort of thing. So again, we can just go in. This is one of those few situations where, like, pulling it back and forth does absolutely work. And then from there we can bring in our shadows, because that's not as bright as the armor should be. And we have an overhang, so we could go ahead and grab the darker. And then hold on, because remember, we have reflective light too. Shadows. And then wrap this around. And to quote Kingdom Hearts, your shadows will be darkest, closest to the light. The shadows here will probably be darker than the ones over here. Okay, you see a difference at that point? Hi, Sar. So going from this to this. Any questions? Because I can just keep doing this like all fucking day, honestly, if I really wanted to. Nice antlers, Sar. You with the King of Hell or something? Where'd you get those? Okay, so one other thing. Hey, you're fine, Mimic. Okay, one other thing. I'm gonna go ahead and flesh this out because I want to show you something. Okay, so we already noted that this is getting less light than this, so it would be of a different color. Well, shade, yes. Just because it's literally not receiving the same amount of light as this is. It's still fairly bright, but it's still not receiving the same amount of light. Okay. So then in that case, we have to admit that it's probably not going to get that super bright point light. But so then the question is why do I want to do that? Thank you, phone, for going off and telling me that people are live on Twitch. That's lovely. Hold on, let me just mute my phone. Okay. And the general answer is literally just bounce light. Because this is reflective, it would be bouncing back towards this. To some extent. Yeah. Not a lot. Bounce light is not ever as strong as everything else. Okay. Now we have that. Saying that this is bouncing back onto this. We can just make this a straight line. Okay. And let's even go in and actually make E. Alright. So now that this light is reflecting off of this, the closer we get to this edge light that we have, brighter it's going to be. Okay. So, if this is casting a shadow onto this, if this has any sort of light on it, which there is ambient light all over the place, right? There's ambient light in the air right now. If you even turned off every single light in your room, there's still somewhat ambient light somewhere in there. Hey, Javi. Okay, so, again, doesn't need to be nearly this dark. And if you're unsure about colors, I really just like color dropping something and then going over it and picking up that color again. Okay. So this needs to reflect off of this, right? But there's no sharp point light, so then what do we do? And that's really just like a very sort of gentle light. But then that, of course, going back towards this. Not done yet. Okay, one other thing. Cast shadows. Cast shadows are a thing. Easiest way to try to figure out your cast shadows is literally to just go and just basically make the shape you have or the shape you need. Nope, wrong color. Fill it. And drop your opacity. And wow, it's a cast shadow now. Oh wow. But dear, didn't you just say that that's not the last step? That shadows aren't the only thing? Because isn't reflective light a thing? And that's yes. Did you know that light can exist inside shadows? Because it's true. It freaking can. It's what makes things reflective, is light cast inside of shadows. See what I mean? I mean, yeah, it's a little dark magic-y. A little dark magic-y, but it's okay. Okay, so, any questions? Light is a bitch and a half. It literally is a bitch and a half. Mm-hmm. Shine the flashlight on once you draw, and it's super easy, and then you figure it out, and everything's easy. This is what I mean about like learning and figuring out light environments, right? Because knowing what your light environment is basically shows you that this would be darker than this, but would also be darker than this, right? Because if your light is coming down from above, or at least like to somewhat above, it would hit this before it hits this. Because in this regard, we basically have this sort of shape, and then this is on the side. So, or this shape would be here, and the light would hit this part before it hits this, because it's going down, and this is bowing out more than this is. And then you just keep applying that same principle, right? So again, it's source on top, so there you go. Wow, look at that. It's almost like I created a reflection in the armor without even fucking trying. Shocking. Wowie. Anyway, any questions, Mimic or anyone else? Okay. One other quick thing. This literally is how you can get into full painting, like full render painting, because you can go over and you can learn the grayscale to color stuff. So it's not just as easy as like I'm just gonna, you know, paint something gray and it's fine. It's not really how it works. There's things you actually have to keep in mind, which is color and value. So not every value can be a color. So your darkest, most saturated yellow is obviously not going to be like this far down in your grays. Because if you were to go ahead and say, take this yellow, right? This is like the lightest gray we have, and we already go like way past it, right? So let's say if we wanted this helmet to be yellow. Nope. Then that doesn't super work much at all, actually. It just kind of looks a little bit bleh. Pretty bad, actually. Okay. But in that same regard, we could probably get away with the purple. And it would probably look fine. So that actually looks like the purple we are going for, right? Then comparatively to the yellow that we were trying to go for. And it's just because in most cases, yeah, some colors reflect more and you basically have to understand the color to the value. So if you're going to be painting something yellow, you need to stick basically within this kind of range. Whereas some have like deeper ranges than others. Okay. Because this is way too light for this red. It doesn't work like almost at all because of how light it is. It works fine down here, but this is just like eye gouging. So then the question is how do we deal with that? And that's generally just tone correction, brightness, contrast. Now it's red. Since we brought our colors down to this level, now this red works. That's generally how you go from painting to whatever. So grayscale is important. Light environments are important. Learning your lighting will be your doorway to everything. And I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. They're very cute. I need to inform all of you the kitties are very cute. Okay, so moving on. Who wants to go next, if at all? Okay. So, I will mention, I feel like I've seen this sort of armor plating before, and I've been trying to figure out where I've seen it. And I can't for the life of me think of it. And it kind of sucks. So when you're thinking about, yeah, a little Chrono Triggery. When you're thinking about armor, the main thing that you need to think about when designing armor is how much movement does the person need, first and foremost. Because if the person needs a lot of movement, you basically need less armor, right? So the second question becomes, well, where does that person need their armor for the most part? And so this was tagged as like a brawler, right? But this, nope. Okay. So my question is would he be able to move in this armor? And there's only like one or two places that sort of worry me, kind of. And honestly, it's just the arm plates and the shin plates. That's kind of the only thing that really worries me. Why would they need to be metal when leather would suffice, basically? And you need to be able to have full range of both your arms and legs. If you are a brawler, you're moving, you're punching, you're fighting, right? You're kicking. So what if they were lighter, right? The lighter it is, the easier it is to move around with in the first place.
So, what if we kept the knee pad, right? But literally just made this iron, or leather. Okay? And leather van braces are a thing already, as is. So it's not like we're inventing anything new. But leather can be hardened to an extremely, not perfect, but it can be very, very hard. So if someone's coming after you with a sword and that's the type of thing that you're needing to avoid, leather can work for that, right? And then I think the hand things are fine. I saw them more as brass knuckles than kind of anything, but that might just be me. I would also say maybe have this a little bit lower because you need to keep in mind where your diaphragm is. Because if you're bending over and it clips into your diaphragm, then you need to be like extremely aware of that. Because you have, here, I'll pull up Portrait Studio for it. Let me open this. Waiting for it to load. Portrait Studio is a godsend. Give us the back money. I mean, there are situations where you can create a character that it would be zero issue for them to have armor on their arms and legs like that, right? But having a smaller, sort of scrawnier character, that doesn't really read so much. This feels more like someone who needs to get in there fast and quick and deliver their blow and then get out. And it is harder to do that with the more weight you have on you. Okay, we'll need to delete this. Add model, figure, dude. Turn him around. Okay, so when you generally think about the male body, diaphragm is about here-ish. So when you're going to go to make a breastplate, right, that works in the same way that lets your body have this joint, and this one, right? You need to make sure that these don't inhibit anything. Usually, that's why there's this sort of shape going on, to also try to not limit basically arm movement. It's protecting everything you need to. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to go for like realistic or whatever. Like it's fine. We're good where we are. I would also probably say covering up your breastbone, but I can't talk today. Hold on. Okay. Covering up your collarbones is also going to be helpful because if you break those, it fucking hurts. But anything basically below this line, I would make sure is leather or is covered in leather in some way. So I would pretty much just go do something to that effect instead of it just coming out of the armor itself or even being like up here and connecting there. Yeah, no problem. You gotta protect your bones. Your bones are important. You gotta protect your bones. So having that sort of dip in doesn't really help much. So I would actually say just having it be just a normal sort of breastplate would be fine. It's a little bit boring, it's true, but you could always work around that. You could figure out ways to make it less boring. I mean, I've been getting worse about it. I don't know. It's hard. And then, of course, van braces are this sort of shape. And they give you more free range on that side of you. One sec. Be right back. happening in the living room. I was very confused as to what it was. It's fine. We're good. Okay, so I do like the inclusion of the boxer helmet. At least I think that's what they're called. No. Apparently not. Boxing helmet? Yeah. The boxing helmet was a good choice. It just being leather is kind of rough because the whole idea is that it's supposed to cushion the fuck out of you. So I would say just keep in mind that it needs to be like at least a little bit thicker, like visually. Anyway, any questions from there? I would actually argue I don't think he needs a cod piece. Personally, but that might just be me. If he's, because I keep seeing him as a boxer, right? Because he's a brawler, and that's pretty much what boxing is. I don't know if he needs the cod piece. The easiest thing to do is look up what already exists in the universe, right? So the things that already exist in the universe is D&D is the best fucking thing for armor, right? And in most cases, some are going to be fucking ridiculous. This isn't too bad. It has a limited amount of actual armor on legs and arms and stuff.
Halt in the name of the Jarl.
Hi. What do you want? From... Yeah, I know you're turning it in.
No, I'm just...
No, I gave you a free do whatever you want me to.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else came up to see him?
Hi, Max. Chat says hi.
Howdy.
Talk about armor.
Oh. That is not a fun thing for me to draw.
I mean, it's not fun for most people to draw.
Yep.
Because of rendering.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this, and I was saying that it actually needs to cover up bone in certain spots, and having these be metal can be really heavy on a person.
Yeah.
And then this needs to be thicker, probably. And I was talking about, I don't know if it needs this. It's a brawler. Would it need to cover up its crotch?
Depending.
I mean, yeah, depending, but like, I don't know. I don't know if it needs it, in my opinion. I think he's fine without it, but maybe
Unless
that's
it's
just
a
me.
stylistic choice too.
Yeah, it can be a stylistic choice, but I'm talking about like just armor design.
Get punched in the hip that way.
Yeah, but I guess what I was basically,
The stomach should have plating potentially.
so I was gonna give
Unless
it.
it's a minimalistic armor.
I was gonna give it. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called. Literally this shit. Fuck, what's it called?
Just padded armor.
Is it just padded armor?
Yeah, it's just padded armor.
Okay, well, padded armor is a really good option for.
It's lightweight and it absorbs blows.
Yeah. So having it actually be like.
They've been harassed by kickboxers too much. Oh, there you go.
Listen, it's fine.
Wilted, yeah, Gambison. That's what it is, Gambison.
Ew. So
Good job, Zanry.
it's one of those things that just like looking up types of armor can give you new ideas for designs and things, which can help strengthen the.
Well, I mean, it's a brawler too, so you
Crutch
need
is
your core is your reset point as a brawler.
Yeah.
Like everything comes from your core, so not only defense but offense too. So having that reinforced in some way gives you the ability to push all that out.
I was thinking it could not be armor directly in the crotch, but more like on the thighs or a lighter fabric, so it doesn't constrict the squatting motion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
But
that's
at that
why.
point, you
That's why I was gonna get to a point.
Movement.
I mean, yeah, but like if you want to be stylistic, fucking just have it be fabric. Like, what if it was just fabric? What if, chat? What if?
Society.
What if we lived in a society?
Or didn't you bring them into the... Okay. Anyway. Basically, you could have it either be like a thinner piece of armor or like leather, whereas like it's comparatively like this compared to what you had, right? It could also be fabric. It could also be a fanny pack. It could be many things. It's true. I will say the bodysuit's a little bit interesting, but that I think is just a design choice that you made for them, and I'm not gonna worry about it because that's not really the armor I'm thinking about. Could be a place to store your gummy fruit gummies. Anyway, what I'm getting at basically is that if you can continuously just look up references upon references, right, of things, you can build anything you want, right? So like, let's say you really like the studded armor here, but you also really want to add like these bracers. You can just do that. You can just take pieces of things and put them together. It's okay. How to do that? Yeah, you can put your Skittles in there. Be great. This is why having at least a small library of references in your brain helps so much. It helps so much. Someone giving me a compliment? No. I think so. It's fine. Sorry, there was just a weird noise happening. That's also a noise that's happening. One sec, I have to take my pills or else I'm gonna die. Hold on, we have to make it in time. Hold on. Oh, wow, good, we made it in time. Just in time, guys. Man, we keep cutting it so close. Pills percent, let's go. God frick, I keep clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the pro bending armor, I believe, is MMA armor. Yeah, it is. Okay, so find an actual good photo of it. Alright, so if you notice, okay, that's a fucking GIF. Why is it a GIF? Stop. You notice here, this is the same idea as having those quilted parts on the points that would actually move and bend, that still has the ability to keep them sturdy and strong. Same as with, like, you can tell that this... One sec. There are no fucking good refs, and that sucks. You can kind of tell that there's like this pattern here that is supposed to, I think, represent armor. It's not armor. They're keeping their torso open and clear in a way that lets them move still. So there's that, as well as their entire helmet goes entirely around their face, because you want to worry about not just your head, you're worrying about your jaw. And we have this kind of just sitting on top of the head sort of thing, instead of worrying fully like about your jaw. So again, making this bigger to make it suit that sort of style of stuff, because you're trying to protect your whole fucking head, right? Yeah, that too. Having padded armor like that doesn't let it bunch up nearly as easy, and it works fantastically. Anyway, so any questions? Not even just out cold, but like you could just rip someone's jaw off, honestly. Like, dang. Also, apparently it's Yoko Taro's birthday. More you know. Okay, moving on. Evie, out of the way. Okay. Anyone else want to go? By choice. As I set up something quietly in the background. Okay. 1 sec. Let me just change like one thing on another scene that you're not allowed to see. It's a secret, yeah. Okay, and then I need this. Okay, I'll figure that out in a freaking minute because I don't know what it looks like currently. Alright, sorry. Anyway. Is it not safe for work? No, it's for the watch party. Okay, so my first question is, what does this person do other than be a goblin / dwarf? That's my first question. And does the armor facilitate them in doing that? Right? Hunter. I didn't draw her main weapon as a crossbow. Is this metal or is this leather? Leather. Okay. I was about to say, if it is metal, you cannot hunt to save your life. So, back to looking up references, we're going to instead look up rangers. Because rangers in D&D, super useful. Super easy to figure out. So, the main thing I want to bring up is the more loose pieces you have on your armor, the easier it is for people to find you and for animals to hear you and stuff like that. But you do still want to cover up your legs, let's say, right? Okay, well, what if instead you said, okay, well, what if we just added the straps to the legs, right? Like, what if you just wore leather pants? What if that? What if you just wore leather pants? Be a little bit sweaty, but it'd be an option. Oh. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that. You know, in case they're into leather, right? So what I'm basically getting at is, if you are not wanting to be heard, you want as little loose on you as humanly possible, right? So why not just keep, like, your tunic? Your tunic's fine. Shrink the parts that are on the sides to actually just on you, right? And we're leaning a little bit more into like rogue territory, honestly. Whereas like they are generally shown with like very tight to the body armor, stuff like that. Usually maybe like a cape with a hood so you can't be seen, but other than that, everything's very close to the body. Not a lot's hanging off, not a lot to be seen or heard, or whenever Doodlefort is done, Jackie, so I don't know when, but I'm gonna ping the Discord, hopefully, if I remember, after Doodlefort's over. Yeah. So you would consider maybe just like, why don't we just like shrink her pants so that they're literally just on her? And then you go, well, that's not, you know, all that visually interesting, and that's fine. Give her a fucking cloak. Who gives a shit? You can add like flowy bits, right? Like you can have like a piece of fabric sticking off or some shit, but it needs to be able to work for the character itself, right? In this, it kind of just feels a little bit like maybe what I wore during high school, if I'm honest. And that's a little awkward. And the best way to kind of deal with that is generally like more RPG style stuff, like gloves, and then maybe make this like, I don't know, go full body ridiculous shit sort of thing. Protect her 100%, whatever, who cares? Then just, I don't know, everything's leather now. Everything's leather. This is getting weird. I hear me out. Scarf. Yeah, you could do that if you fucking really want to. Because a scarf is easily tuckable into something, right? Like you could easily tuck the scarf into itself and then it wouldn't make noise or get caught on things. You know? And the same goes for like, maybe you want like a scarf belt, which is fine. It's literally, again, more flowy things here, but you're tucking it in and it's fun. Anyway, you get the general gist. I think that's about it. I don't really have that many problems with this overall. I would say keep in mind where your seams should be, which would be a little bit farther back than what you have, or farther forward. Because your seams on your clothing tend to go down the side or like right in front, and there tends to be a pleat like right here. Having them here can lead to a little bit of bunching up and it can feel a little awkward and uncomfortable. Yeah, we could just give her multiple fucking belts. Fuck it. We could even do like fuck it, like the leg pack thing, and then like the thing with the knives and shit. Like, hell yeah. Let's fucking go. Any questions? Become his Nart. Become his BDSM Naruto. I mean, the pointless straps on the boots can just be whatever, because like they're fashion. There are some things that you just gotta be like, they don't need a purpose. It's fashion. But fashion has its own purpose in the sense of like, okay, if you just had like a belt that like trailed behind you, right? And it was just like a fucking belt, what's the fashion point of that? But with having them like actually be like, ooh, their belt, their boots with like 20 different belts, like that's, you know, its own thing. Does she do hot girl shit? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Moving on. Anyone else want to go next? We have 2 left. All right, we'll leave you. Excuse me. We'll leave the Rainbow Pride one for last. Okay, so is this actually a mosquito/fly? Is my first thing. Because if it is, why is it in metal? And if that's not a problem, let's just say this bee is really fucking, this mosquito bee, whatever, is really, really strong, right? Why is the most important part of it untethered or unprotected? Yeah. So the most important part of a bee, other than its head, would be its wings, right? If it loses its wings, it's basically fucked. It can't do much. So the question is all right, well, what do you do with the wings then? Because you can only do so much, right? And I had thought about this for a little while, and I came to Evie, I love you, but stop, not right now. You can hang out with me during the fucking movie. The thing I thought about, because I'd been thinking about this for a little while, and thank you again for using a light gray background. That is lovely and I appreciate it. Is it's okay if the wing gets a hole in it, right? But what about like just the basic shape of it? So that in that case, like what if you took like, I'm gonna go with tinfoil, right? Because that is the first thing that comes to mind when I think of armor on a bug, is tinfoil. So what if instead you just had a little bit of tinfoil on the outer edges of the wings in order to give them some strength, and if like there's a hole in it, then it's not that big a deal. The pocket pair, I did not. Okay. And then from there, I would literally just say reimagine kind of. I'm gonna build assault rifles. What? What? Yeah, you could use a thimble if you wanted. So then from there, just... Okay, hold on. Labor laws won't be applied to pals. It's literally just a Pokemon rip, but also Genshin Impact? Jesus fuck, what? I play it. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so reimagining, right? I'm just gonna do one side of his helmet. Okay, so the question is okay, dear, but I don't know how to draw tinfoil, and that's fine. Let's just Google some tinfoil, right? And then we go over here and we find a texture of tinfoil and we go, all right. And we go, wow, that's some tinfoil, right? And we fuck it up a little bit. Well, okay. Whichever edge is more important is the one we'll cover with a little bit of tinfoil. Anyway, we're gonna fuck up the tinfoil a little bit, right? Now it's all like crunchy and shit. And we'll go in, select what I did for armor. And then, wowee! It looks like tinfoil. But then you say, dear, that's really fucking obvious. right? It's okay, because this picture that I took of my own fucking tinfoil, all I have to do is go in and sort of fuck with it a little bit. Because maybe, you know, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna be like, all right, well, there's like this here, but then there was like some reflection shit. And, you know, because I already took a picture of this tinfoil myself. I'm using a photo I took myself. I'm not, in this case, I'm not. But basically what I'm getting at here is that if you use the fucking stuff and you take the photos and shit yourself, who fucking cares? Use the materials given to you. Be the person you want to be. Use all the materials and shit given to you. Work fucking smarter, not goddamn harder. Fuck. And then you just gotta keep rendering it out and making it look better than it did. Because as soon as you make it look better than it did, then you're golden. Then you're good to go. Then it's fine. And now this one singular part of the tinfoil still looks absolutely fine. I didn't know that. Any questions? And if someone comes up to you and goes, "Dear, you fucking traced the colors and shit," I go, "Yeah, of a picture I took my fucking self." You got a fucking problem with that? Then go suck a dick. I'm allowed to use my own references and things like that. It's perfectly fine and legal. It's mine. I'm not stealing from anyone. I'm not taking anything from anyone. This is mine. And then just like comparatively, right? Let's just pull this singular part out that I kind of fucked with, right? That looks like fucking tinfoil. And if you feel like it doesn't, then maybe just like blur it a little bit and then go back in and add like sharper lines. Because now that all the things are all together, if you go and you go, okay, well, there was a highlight here and like here and shit, and like, yeah, wow, it's tinfoil. I could literally show you an exact fucking example. Hold on, let me just do that. Current portfolio, and this, and you see these fucking clouds? You see these goddamn clouds? You see these clouds? You know what that is? That's a fucking photo I took. It's a photo I took from outside my house of some storm clouds. That's all that is. And now that you know it's there, you can't fucking unsee it. It looks real. It's an actual fucking photo. It's been color fucked with and merged around and fucked up a little bit with free transform, but it's a goddamn photo. Use the materials that you have. You need to work smarter. You need to. Anyway, any questions? My question is, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Also, yeah, if we wanted to, we could be like, it's a goddamn paperclip. Like, if this is the more important part of the wing, then, ooh. Oh boy, there you go. And now it'll be sturdy and great and perfect. Woohoo! Think about the materials for what you're attaching them to, right? In the same way that we attached more leather than metal to the fighter, using like household items for a bug makes sense because that's the same size. It is literally right there. It is handed to you and you just gotta take it. Okay. Moving on. Pyros. We're almost done. We're talking about armor. Okay. So, last one. Learning everything that we learned today. What are the problems that we see
with this design for a knight? Aside from the colors, like the colors are its own thing, so I'm not worried about those. Those are not an issue. It's a non-issue. So I'm not worrying about a light source right this second because we're not worrying about rendering. What we're worried about is the design more than anything, because this was a design submission from Jordy. Nothing is protecting the sternum. This is protecting the sternum. If I'm assuming the rainbow part is armor, it's protecting the sternum. Needs bigger WoW style shoulder pads. Chest piece is going to dig into the diaphragm. Yes. So that's part of it. Because this piece right here is basically signifying that it's all one piece. If we tried to bend over, this would literally just dig into your diaphragm and like die. It would hurt like a lot. So what if we just, for whatever reason, just went like this, just went, all right. And then you go deer, but people have full pieces of armor that covers their entire front, right? And I go, yes, that is true. But it's generally its own piece. So if it is a whole piece of armor, your bending will be done behind it. So the general idea is that you wouldn't have these parts here connecting it. You would have two pieces coming together like this to make your armor, instead of what we have, which is more like this and is unbending and like doesn't shift whatsoever and won't adhere to your body, basically. So, okay, how do we make it a full piece then? Let's fucking make it a full piece. You just do. You just fucking do. You just do, and then this part here is an armor. You just do. And then there's like little belts here and here. And then the chainmail underneath is what protects your sides, if you didn't know. Because chainmail generally was made so that all the little teeny tiny parts of your armor that a sword could slip into didn't fuck you up and kill you. Yeah. Okay. What else might be a problem? Yeah, so they can't really bring their legs up at all. So if we're going to say that this is armor and this is armor, right, we would need these two pieces to be separated from each other, for one, for them to be able to lift their legs whatsoever. Because this piece needs to move independently of this one. So, okay. And this is a really fucking common design in armor. And then you just have like a belt. Literally, just like a belt. The Gorget? I mean, I know. So even when you have those large, dumb pieces of armor, you usually don't have a connection piece here. They're all individual pieces. So that you are easier, it is easier for you to be able to move. So this can be as fucking pointed as you want it. I'm just bringing it down so it's more of an obvious shape of what we're trying to explain. So now your belt literally just looks like this on the sides. Like, here's your belt, and then it's just connected here, here, and here. Which allows for a vaster array of movement.
Okay. Hold on. I would want to have to check. And I also am not exactly going to look at this on fucking dudes in armor with their dicks out. Like, what the fuck? Stupid fucking cod pieces. So it depends on if it is fabric or cloth or armor. I think it would be fine if it's armor. I would just advise maybe making this rounder, at least, just because those angles can be a bitch and a half if you stab your leg into them. So like if you had one leg up, your leg would literally like attach into this little corner that you had. I would also warn that having this over your knees can be a little bit dangerous because you need these to be able to bend. So if we literally just, again, made the knees a separate piece from the shins, then it works out fantastically. Because everything needs to be, the more pieces you have to put things together generally means that you have a little bit of a better time at moving, basically. So the reason that it was easier to move like this is just because in the end we wound up just splitting it into different pieces, right? So the more ways that you can literally move everything, the easier it would wind up being. So I would actually say I don't think that these count as covering up the elbow, because your elbow would be back here on the arm, because when you have a hand, right? When you have a hand, the elbow is actually like back here in the sense that when you have your arm out, your bend is like about here. Wait, brain, hold on. Your bend is on the inside of your arm, right? So if you have... Okay, I'm just gonna pull up a model because my brain is just dying today. Okay. So. The elbow for it being on this arm would be back here. That's literally all I'm trying to say. Should this have elbow pads? It's up to them. I mean, in a lot of cases, knight armor wound up having armor on top of everything, right? But that's like very high.
Welcome to Armbanding Stream 2021. Please subscribe.
We're almost done, Todd. What's up? Hi, thank you for the tier 1 for 10 whole freaking months. It's a lot of months. Hi. It really just depends on what kind of knight you're making. So, you know. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Carnist. On Discord is a reference I used? Where? I don't see it. Did you just post it, or? I just, for whatever reason, hold on. I keep thinking of the rewind noise from, Jet Set Radio. And that's the first thing that comes to mind for me. Post it in Doodlefort if you can. Okay, no, we're not Will Smithing. What the heck? Yes. it's also just about like the type of coverage you want per class, basically. I don't want to say class, job that the armor is supposed to be doing. Also, guys, this is a general reminder to tag whatever you do for Doodlefort with the words #DoodleMe, no space. So I can make sure that I can find it per Doodlefort. No worries. If you have any questions, there's also a is the armor jet set ready? That's true. Okay, so it wasn't extremely clear, I will admit, for some of these, that like this was cloth and whatever, because just adding a little bit of shine doesn't really convey that, which is why I wound up like changing a bit. You can kind of tell that this and this are very separated. The armor chainmail is all there, as well as this has probably separation right here as well, instead of being hooked up here. And if it doesn't, then 99% chance that this is its own piece and these two aren't connected to it. So, however, this is also WoW armor, so, you know, they may have just blown all of realism out of the fucking air and been like, fuck it, whatever. Anyway, any questions? I would say, Jordy, next time try, if you really want to trace armor, that's fine, but try the shrimp method at least. It's in the pinned messages of Doodlefort. Well, yeah, you can say fuck reality to some extent, but when you're trying to learn to design armor, you got to think about it a little bit, Todd. Jeez. Was it not? Hold on. Was that the actual armor? Because it looked like it was a 3D render. Reject everything. Draw blobs. Anyway, if you want to trace something, that's fine, but learning from it is the important step, right? Just tracing isn't going to get you much of anywhere. We have a whole thing that we try to talk about in Doodlefort pretty often, which is called the shrimp method, where you literally just draw a shrimp and then draw a shrimp better, and it teaches you how to keep stuff in your mind and your mind's eye, basically, for what you would like to draw, and the basic principle, the shapes that come together to make it. I am so raspy today, what the fuck? Okay. Any questions before we end for today? So next Doodlefort. Can't be a 10th. Let's do the 17th. 17th sounds fun. Well, no, because I haven't switched over yet. I wasn't gonna ping Discord until I was like fully setting up the watch party. Draw shrimps amazingly. Become shrimp artist. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Profit. Profit from big shrimp. Okay. Well, we're not done yet. Hold on. Y'all need to give me Doodlefort, July 17th. What the fuck do you guys want to draw? What do you want to learn? We already literally just did armor, so okay, well, Todd, you can't just draw Mario Golf. I'm sorry. But that does give me an idea. It gave me the idea of writing down line of action, so. Give me like 3 more. Yes, that's exactly what we're thinking. Right, yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a big one. Jesus Christ. 1 more. Fashion? That's kind of... Okay. Just a reminder, you can vote. You can vote as many times as you want. Just go ahead and pick what you want me to talk about next month. Again, we will be on the 17th of July, because I don't want to fucking have to deal with you guys closer to my birthday. I just want to vibe out and just do absolutely nothing. Just get drunk, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. I don't even drink anymore, honestly. Jokes are fun. Unpinned message. Yup. Yeah, it's back. Be gay, do vibes. Alright, what do you got? What do you got for me, chap? Line of action, food, and cloth studies are all tied. Fuck. Okay. Does anyone else feel like voting? Okay, food one. Food one. Alright. We're gonna do food. Food's easy. Sort of. Not really. Food's a thing. Okay. I will go set that up real quick. We're gonna go ahead and... Here's the plan, okay? I'm gonna end stream. Okay? I'm going to start stream again, but in the watch party, right? And then from there, we're gonna watch the fucking Pokemon movies, and I'm gonna find a way to maybe totally legally let anyone watch it with me. So, okay. So I'll see you guys in just a second. I'll be right back. Okay.